Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to the BYE show. Today I have a special guest. He's actually one of the #1 contractors in the whole country, a guy who's producing millions of dollars, explosive growth, but more importantly, somebody who's building his own economy, not only in the contracting world, but also in the business world. He's now doing acquisitions and mergers. He's building a $50 million company. He's doing big things, and I definitely know that you're gonna learn a lot from him today because he's got a lot to share with us. And so I wanna welcome today Mr. Jesse Ladson.
Appreciate it, dude. Appreciate it.
I don't know this is a for sure statement, but I would say this. Did you grow up saying, I want to be a contractor?
So I grew up loving baseball, trading baseball cards, so I wanted to be a professional baseball player growing up. So I never really knew what I wanted to do in my life until I seen my older cousin, Jeremy Voss, doing the things he loved to do with the people he loved to do it with. And that was hunting, fishing. This is so true. Hunting, fishing. He was great, making great money, working for the big company and building some cool things. I'm like, wow, I kind of want to do that.
And he was a contractor?
He was a contractor.
Okay.
So I headed down that path, not in a GC mode, but I knew I just wanted to get into construction. So it was late in my high school years when I figured out kind of what I wanted to do.
So it was truly just the appearance that you were attracted to.
I was.
So did you know the opportunities that were in front of that? Like, let's say income or sales?
Never. I just knew that he was enjoying what he was doing, and that's what I was more attracted to than anything. So I had no idea of potential, did not know what the industry truly was. I just knew of the type of person that I wanted to be based on what he was doing at the time. Interesting.
So you went into this field at what age?
So I would say my high school year, junior year of high school, is when I figured out when I wanted to start going down the construction or actually trade school path is where it started. And then the GC side of things happened about my sophomore year of college.
So for the audience that doesn't know what this means, what does GC mean?
GC is general contractor. So there's different levels of contractor, certified building in general. So I'm the highest level.
Highest level meaning you can manage a project.
I can manage a project on any scale. So different levels of licensing. You have certain limitations on what you can do with your license, such as a building contractor can't exceed anything in 2 stories in height.
Interesting.
So I can do anything beyond that. So the GC is the highest level of licensing.
Well, I got a question because this is gonna make me feel good to say it, I guess. How big is it? How is the biggest you've done so far?
So the biggest project I have been on, I didn't manage it with my license, but I was part of it, was the Four Seasons Resort down in Orlando, Florida. It was $270 million over the course of 32 acres. That was the biggest development I've been a part of.
You did part of that. You were part of that project? Yeah. Damn.
Yeah, it's massive. Animal.
Is it open today?
It's open, yeah.
Can they pass inspections?
Pass inspections,
okay.
Yeah. Pass inspections. That was back in, so we're 2022 now, so that was probably 6 years ago.
So did you feel when you did that project you made it? Like, was that like...
So...
Or did you underbid?
No, so again, I didn't manage that whole, I was part of the process. For us right now, that project's way too big for us. Right now, our average size is around 2 to 5 million is our average size project right now. And it's mainly commercial, retail development, hospitality, industrial, cold storage. That's where we are right now.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So I know that you have this passion. I mean, we've obviously known each other for some time. The audience knows I've worked alongside Jesse in different things and seen him grow a lot. And over the last year or so, you've had this passion because you feel you want to give back to the community that you've helped and been part of for a long time. So tell me about what you're doing now to help the contractor community.
So here's what I've done. I have noticed issues and problems that are very consistent with contractors. And contractors have no idea how to manage their money. They have no idea what kind of money they truly have. They're always robbing Peter to pay Paul. There's an ego in the industry that can't be managed. And they have no idea where they're headed with their company. So they're having a hard time leading people and they're always chasing low-hanging fruit. So we wanted to be able to create a community of contractors to come together, be supportive, and create an atmosphere that people truly want to elevate their status with. And so we're putting on Contractor Con, Orlando, Florida, October 6th and the 7th. And it's for anyone in the construction space, primarily commercial. And so we're going to have 200 contractors in the room, guest speakers throughout the country are going to come. And it's a 2-day event filled with nothing but just life-changing speakers and true industry leaders that have scaled their companies in a very short amount of time, upwards to $140 million.
So if I were a contractor and I went to this event, I mean, what would you want me to leave with it from the event? Like if I were the guy your ideal guy, what would you want me to come out of that event saying what?
You need to leave your ego at the door. That's the number one issue contractors have is leave your egos at the door.
Define ego.
So ego in the contracting space is I've got so much work going on, more than I can handle, and no one's really a priority for me right now. I'm the priority. And so contractors begin to lose sense of who they are and where they truly came from. And so their sense of humbleness, while they may have had that from the start, is out the door. It's not coming back.
Is it because they're in such demand, is what you're saying? Yeah. That they have, I mean, wouldn't you think the marketplace is starting to humble some of these guys?
It is, but for the guys who are truly sticking to who they were and where they came from, those are the guys that are still just very much excelling in the industry. But there's still a lot of work going on out there to where the guys that have not remained humble and the guys that cannot, I would say, stay on track of where they came from and how they got to where they are now, these are the guys that are starting to fail. And I think they're starting to sense that.
Can you identify somebody really quickly, like when you meet them, like in a very quick sense, who's not and who is humble?
I can.
And what do you see first, just so I...
So the first thing I sense of someone being humble is how they remain authentic to themselves. And I can sense a level of fakeness from someone when they're trying to be someone they're not. There's versus level of them being uncomfortable. And we all have been in a situation where someone's in front of them and they're trying to sell them.
Every time you go to the next level, right?
Every time you go to the next level. And now, and to that, like we all understand, because we're in this right now, that you're always having to elevate your personal development and invest in yourself to go to the next level. But there's a level of people that don't do that, and they continue to try to push themselves to the next level, and they're someone they're not. And I can sense that pretty quick. So
there are people out there who probably have a desire to grow, but have no commitment to grow.
Yep.
Okay.
They want the pie, but they don't want to bake it.
There you go. That's a good way to state it, because I mean that is exactly what it takes, right? So I come out of there and I say, okay, I'm going to get my ego out. What else? What are some of the other things they're going to get out of it today? What do you want me to get out of it?
So I truly want them to see the potential that they have in themselves, because with the contractors all chasing low-hanging fruit, it's the first job they go to. It's the easiest one to go to, and they're not putting in the work anymore to what I say identify the gaps. So I think that I do the best in identifying the gaps in the marketplace. And what that means is if I'm chasing retail development and there are certain gaps in the marketplace that are not being filled, we got the big corporate guys can't come down to fulfill it because they're too expensive. They got too much horsepower for these clients. But yet you got the guys that are doing $5-10 million a year. They can't come up enough because they're so comfortable chasing low-hanging fruit, or they don't have the capacity nor the experience to meet those clients' demands. So it's truly teaching them sort of how do you identify those gaps, but how do you strategically align your team to be in position to fill it.
So would you say that maybe contractors today, when you say low-hanging fruit, I'm assuming you're meaning that they're just taking on anything they can grab.
Yeah.
Because it's about money. It's not even about being the best.
These are the guys that are waiting for the phone to ring. And now look, I can sit at my desk all day. My wife and I talk about this all the time. I could get 6 opportunities in a day and not do one thing. I think that's low-hanging fruit. I'm waiting for things to happen for me. And the things that I want to pursue and the things that I want to be a part of is things that I got to work for.
So you would say for them to be clearer on, I mean, in my world, I call it ideal customer. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it's really it. It's ideal. It's who you really want to work with because you're the best at it.
Yeah. What I often say, people ask all the time, well, what's your niche? I don't have a niche in the marketplace. My niche is I want to work with the right people. And, you know, it's natural of us to work with people that kind of replicate who we are as people. That's who we're attracted to. Same thing in business. I want to work with people that have the same values, that have the same culture, the same outlook, and the same vision as I do. And so I'm in the business of identifying who we work best with.
Who would you turn down as a client, just so I know?
I would say the uneducated mom and pop who's not receptive or open to being educated by the GC.
So I would assume it's basically people. I'm not going to say it. This is going to be kind of rude to the audience, but whatever. It's people are broke.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
These are the clients that are going to go get an SBA for a couple $100,000.
Yeah, and they're the ones that think that they can change the plans in the middle of
these are the ones that don't understand the value that we bring,
or the sequence,
or the sequence. And what we run into a lot is where these clients, the first thing they look is the fee. They look at general conditions like, God, this is expensive. No, this is just the value that we bring, and it's not that we're expensive. Your expectations are cheap.
Yeah, or they don't understand the concept. I mean, obviously, I could say that they're cheap. I guess that would probably be a better term. Would be they're just uneducated into the process.
Absolutely.
And they don't understand that there are things that need to be done. You know, it's funny that you say that because I got a text around about noon today from one of my clients who just in the last 30 days gave us over $30,000 bucks, right? And he sent me a text and he says it was like a meme, and it was like, clients, there's these type of clients, and I can't remember what it was, but it was like, these type of clients are the ones that they give you $5,000 and they call you every day. And he's like, and there's the client that gives you $50,000 and he put question mark because they never call you.
They never call you.
And he was saying that he sent me this like, that's me, bro.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thanks, man, for
Well,
my
what
customer.
happens because the clients that are giving us, hundreds of thousands of dollars in fee and general conditions, they get the process. They know they're hiring a GC for the experience and the value that they bring, and they're going to take care of it.
You know what's funny is that I have a buddy and his wife are building a project right now, and they're trying to micromanage the GC, and then they're trying to find ways to cut costs. So they're interviewing the subs and asking them what their fees are, and they're trying to cut out. Because honest truth, man, the reason people don't like contractors is because we know there's markups in between all the way, and there is. I mean, but here's what I told him. I said, look, bro, that's just the way the business runs. I said, you have to understand. This is exactly what I said. You have to understand these people, which is your GC and the subs. They have a great relationship, and they work together well, and they have. The reason that they get the job done is because of the stuff that happens we don't get to see. And I said, if you cut that off, just so you know, you're putting yourself in a worse position because they're not going to give you the best service anymore.
Well, what people don't see that we go through as contractors, they don't see that the plumber doesn't show up on Monday. Or he's supposed to have 6 guys and 2 show up, and he can't get anyone to show up because of what we're dealing with in the labor shortage. What they don't see is that we can't get rooftop units for 26 to 36 weeks. We can't get switchgear for 42 to 52 weeks. And this is stuff that's out of our control. But we have to deal with it as the contractor. And so our fees, they haven't changed over the years. The fee is the fee. I mean, fee's pretty consistent across the board because it's based on the total job cost, direct cost of the job. So with that, it's not like we can charge more just because it's harder to get units. It's just stuff we actually eat more times than not because it's our responsibility to manage. And essentially the client's going to look at it and say, well, why are you charging me more if you already know that it's difficult to get rooftops? Shouldn't you already have a plan? So there's all these things that people don't see that we deal with every single day.
So that's very valuable. Are you going to be sharing this stuff at Contractor Con?
100%. Because these are things that I would say contractors are not clear with the expectations with the clients. And if you're clear up front, then the conversations are easy to have.
I mean, if I were a contractor, just between me and you, I'd be like, okay, look, I'm going to be the best I can be. I'm going to show up. I'm going to get the job done. I'm going to make a lot of fucking money. That's what I tell them.
That's what we all want.
I'm going to tell them, I'm going to make a lot of money, but it's okay because you got the best. If you don't like that, we don't probably have to do business together. It's okay. If you're going to try to cut me out, cheat me, then we don't need to do business because...
It's values between both parties. They got to be in alignment.
If they're not, I can see that. Because I've done some projects myself. I've done some things in the past. I understand construction actually pretty well for never being, I don't even know how to hammer shit. So for not knowing that, I know a lot. But the deal is I see that there are a lot of contractors today that I think that they have a misconception of business. I think they're workers trying to be contractors. And a worker typically doesn't understand the expectations of having dedicated employees, doesn't understand how they have to manage money and funds. Like one of our good coach friends says all the time, right? You got to be prepared for the winter. And I think a lot of contractors aren't prepared for the winter. They're just prepared for the weekend. That's it.
A lot of these contractors live in the moment. To back to what I was saying, they have no idea what truly cash on hand is, and so they're technically spending money that's not theirs. Just because the bank account says they got $2 or $3 million in the bank doesn't mean that's their money. What happens is that they have overbilled on jobs.
Yep.
Or
cost change.
Their cost changes, and so technically they may be $1 million short. So they're spending as if they got $3 million coming into the year. If they're not planning for taxes, if they're not strategically, having their plan in place to alleviate your tax liability, more times than not, they're having a no shit moment at the end of the year.
Oh yeah. I see them all the time.
I would say at least 90% of contractors.
Oh, I know them all the time, man.
Yep.
I know them. I see. We have a lot actually. Roofer, construction people, and a lot of them. What I love about contracting, and actually construction in general, is that somebody with just hard skills, which is, trade skills, can be a millionaire very quickly. But a lot of them, that's the problem. They've never known anything. They don't know money.
Yep. They don't know the business side of it.
They just don't understand money. They just know that when you see money, you spend it. And so it's like, well, there's 10,000 in the account. Let's go below the 10,000. And that becomes a big problem. I see a lot. I hope, I hope at Contractor Con you have somebody who's going to be talking about how they plan for those taxes.
We have this guy he wants to talk about taxes. I think everyone should listen. Yeah. This guy named David.
Yeah, I like his name already.
No, and listen, if we're honest, there's a reason we want you there. It's not because of our friendship. I truly know the value you're going to bring to it. And the people need to know. Like truly, it's our responsibility to know what our tax liability is at the end of the year. We owe the IRS an obligation. It's what we signed for as business owners. However, we owe it to ourselves to not give away all this money back to the government. Because what happens with the money when it goes to the government?
Well, it goes to programs or things that we don't really support or care about.
Or we don't see.
Yeah, we don't care about it.
We don't see.
I wish we did, but we don't, right?
So I was once told that the wealthiest of the wealthiest get wealthy based on the tax liability and what they don't pay back in, and the strategy they do to alleviate the liability at the end of the year.
Yeah,
the wealthy get wealthy.
That's exactly how it works, man. And contractors, it's interesting because honest truth, I have a love-hate relationship with contractors because I love the ones that listen, I hate the ones that don't. It's the truth, man, because I've had so many, and so many would just get into so much tax liability or debt because they don't understand and they can't keep themselves from buying the new F-250 every year.
They can't. Or 2,500.
Yeah, HD 2,500. Yeah, you know something about those, right? If I were to drive, by the way, just for the audience, if I drove a big-ass truck, it would be an F-250 King Ranch. King Ranch. Well, I live near the King Ranch, by the way.
All right.
I'm like about an hour away from
you. All right. Well, I'll give it to you.
Yeah.
But look, with Contractor Con, we truly want to create something special. There's nothing else in the commercial space like it. There's a lot of door-to-door going on, which is phenomenal. I know the guys that put them on. But Contractor Con is the first of its kind.
I got a question. So, if I want to get into the commercial space, I'm a contractor right now, maybe I'm building homes, and I see the writing on the wall. Homes in my market, they're not going to move like they were the last 2 years, but I feel like commercial's still going to move. I want to make that transition. Should I go to Contractor Con?
100%. There are things you have to know before you get into the commercial construction market. I have seen guys firsthand go from a home building and try to do small interior build outs. Processes are not the same. Clients are not the same. CRMs are different. Accounting software is different. There's only so many things you can do in residential that carry over into the commercial side of things.
Okay, good. So, and if I am an experienced commercial contractor, I should be there as well.
100%. We're going to have guys here that are doing $100 million.
$100 million. So, guys who are out there doing big things or starting things, they should be there to get the insights. By the way, tell me who some of the guys are going to be there, so I just know.
So incredible speakers. David, yours truly here, talking about taxes. It's your right not to pay the taxes.
That's right. It's your right not to pay taxes.
On this one. Ben Newman, a lot of you know Ben Newman. He's a mental performance coach. Does a lot of work with Nick Saban, University of Alabama, Kentucky. A lot of his college teams. Coach Michael Burt's going to be there, activating Parade Drive. Brian Hess from the Pavement Group, buddy of mine from up north, doing phenomenal things nationwide with a national paving group. Scaled it. I think he's growing 200% every single year. And he really utilizes technology, and he's going to really bring points on why technology is so important. The right CRMs, the accounting software, the safety inspection, the metrics. How do you measure the company? So he'll be discussing that. Jeremy Voss, another great guy out of Central Florida. He's going to be talking about culture and truly how he's been able to elevate and grow his company from 2 million to 35 million just over the last 2 years. So a lot of great speakers.
This is interesting because a lot of these guys, I don't know in person, but they sound like freaking badasses.
Yeah.
Yep. By the way, Ben Newman, after you told me about him, I actually wanted to have him come to one of my events because, the guy seems like a badass, dude. Just that guy right there is probably going to light you up.
He is.
He's going to be like, that's some trade drive too, man. I bet.
So he's speaking day one after I speak. So he's going to start off pretty hot.
Oh, man. So, by the way, I want to share with the audience because I think contractors today, because I would imagine it's contractors male. I know there are some females, not to disrespect or anything. It's just predominantly a male run, industry. Probably men with a lot of ego. Probably men who think that they know it all, that don't need any help. If I were out there right now, I'd be looking for all the help, especially coming into an economic shift. There is going to be a downturn in everything in construction. If just to be clear, if you see drop in cost of materials, in any material, it doesn't matter if it's from sheetrock to lumber to hardware, if it drops even just 5%, then that means that there's a shift. Because that means the demand is low.
Yep.
So if I were out there and I was like, man, what do? I'd be looking for this, man. Like I'd be saying, shit, I gotta get around these people who are doing hundreds of millions of dollars. Because if I don't, I'm going to be kicked in the nuts. I always say that.
It's critical the guys get in the room with the guys that are already doing the big things. These guys are so far ahead of most of the contractors out there. And, those are the first guys that take action. Those are the first guys that buy tickets. Those are the first guys that sign up to be in the room.
Yeah.
You should follow.
I absolutely believe that. And I see so many people today that in the contract, in every space, that are just paralyzed right now, just standing there just like, well, what's going to happen? And it's like, you're going to find out what to do when it hits you.
Yep.
Might as well just take action and go to an event like this and get ahead.
And I got asked a question today, am I worried about the recession? And I'm not, because I'm prepared for it. I know exactly where we're headed and how we're headed. And I'm not worried about what's going to happen in a year and a half, because that's not what my vision is. My vision is 5 years, 10 years. And we know exactly how we're going to do 100 million next few years. Exactly. And a recession isn't going to prevent us from doing that.
That's interesting. So I actually should ask you that question real quick. So what does the recession mean to the contracting world, the construction world?
A lot of guys are going to get hurt.
Who's going to get hurt?
A lot of the guys that are very complacent of where they are, these are the guys, I think the guys that are going to get hit the hardest are the guys that are doing between 1 to 5 million.
Okay. And would that be commercial or residential?
Both. I think residential is getting hit first.
Okay.
Yep.
And you think that because the demand's gone?
No. Well, I think the driving force right now is you look at rates, and rates is generally the first thing people begin to indicate with the housing market and what's going to happen. But generally, residential gets hit first, with commercial to follow. For us, we're positioned really well with large developers, and there's a reason for that. We know what's coming down the pipeline, so we begin to shift our focus and our priority with who we're working with.
Interesting. So I'm just thinking out loud, because if I were a residential, I would say I think the next probably 3.5 months are going to be really bad for residential, because most people take 6 months to build a home, right?
Yeah.
Is that about 6 months?
Yeah.
So that means people who started 3 months ago or 4 months ago were betting on a bigger house to be built with an interest rate that was lower. Yeah. Now the interest rate's lower, people can't qualify. Yeah. So I think after that it'll probably settle down. But if you're talking about commercial people and 1 to 5 million, those are the people you're saying are going to get hurt, because you think retail is going to take a hit?
No, so we've actually seen an uptick in retail over the past few months. There are more smaller retail out parcel developments. What I mean by that is you drive by a corner of a street and there's an acre, 2 acres there. That type of work has picked up drastically over the past.
Who are the builders? Who are the builders?
Us.
Well, who are the investors?
It varies. It can come from private investors to private equity. It could be Starbucks, Panera Breads, Tijuana Flats, Chipotle's of the world.
But those guys don't put up the money. They find a group.
They have groups. A lot of these guys are private.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's for example, it'd be me, for example, wanting to invest into a franchise.
Interesting.
And now for that particular piece, I would purchase the property. Chipotle would go under contract with me directly, or my entity at the time, and then we work. Then we cut the deal. Contractor builds it, and then I write them a check for a TI allowance that they use for their interior, and then we're off to the races.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, that actually really interests me because the contractor world has such a big insight, and they don't even know it.
Yeah.
Like, I think I know you understand it, but if they understood the kind of the way that the things work, like if they could understand, like just by hearing the investor group or the ownership's name, you would see a lot of, because those are the smartest guys in the world.
Well, that's part of the gap. That's part of the gap these guys are looking into.
Yeah, like those are the people that run the world.
Yeah. And we are killing it right now with the gap.
Yeah, those are the guys, man. Because if I knew, Blackstone just bought like all these Starbucks and they're opening them up, I'd be like, they must know some shit I don't know. We better really look at this Starbucks thing,
Let's get in contact with Blackstone.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like you guys are on the cusp of this.
But again, that's not low hanging fruit. That's what these guys aren't looking at.
Yeah, you're right.
Because it requires a bit more effort.
You're right, man. So that's the kind of stuff that interests me the most, because I like to learn the insights just by listening and watching. Like I'm more of an observer than I am a participant when that stuff is. I'm like, man, how are they doing? It's interesting to me. I mean, I'd be more interested in that than the construction. You know what I mean? I'm like, who are these guys and why do they have so much money? That's what I ask.
There's a lot of it out there.
There still is, right? I mean, there's still a lot of people who have made a lot of money, and they're still learning to do this. So.
That's true.
All right, last question. What does building your own economy mean to you?
Building my own economy to me is that I need, for myself and my family, in order for us to create a true legacy, is to create a true mean of passive income for us and not solely depend on the companies that I have to create the legacy that I want to leave behind.
That's right.
And with that, that's why we have guys like you on stage to teach us about tax strategies, and we're going to continue to do that. And so we can create our own economy. So
any last remarks you want to make?
No, I appreciate it. Make sure you come to ContractorCon. Visit www.contractor-con.com. Tickets are on the site. We got 4 different levels: Pro, Elite, VIP, as well as Diamond. You're not going to want to miss out. You're going to have FOMO if you're not there, I promise you. Lives will be changed, and contractors, we're going to create a community just for us, and we're going to change the industry.
That's right, man. Well, guys, if you haven't got your tickets, go grab them. This guy's phenomenal, if you couldn't already tell. I'm very, very excited to be there as a guest speaker, but more importantly, to see everybody succeed. So if you like this episode and you like more, please hit the subscribe button. We are looking forward to having more episodes like this. Building your own economy is what we need to do, and wishing you guys all success.